Now let's talk about politics and your plans when you get re-elected. So if you get re-elected, will you push for a law that will outlaw fake news?
Yes, definitely. Fake news, fake content. It ruins social media. It ruins sometimes it ruins the minds of people. Yeah, there must be a very specific law in the Philippines that would be taking it up.
Would you also...
Addressing it directly, I should say.
In the U.S., a lot of states are now having pending legislation on deep fake. In your concept of this legislation on fake news in the Philippines, would that also cover deep fake? Because that would involve AI, whereas normally fake news, there's just people that post something or make up stories that they share on social media.
If it involves AI, it needs further study, I think, at this point. I would not dare say that I would know how to address that particularly right now. But I can study it.
And in your opinion, when we have legislation against fake news and fake content, are you envisioning just civil law, or would that entail penalties like a criminal law?
Perhaps it would depend on the gravity of the fakery. Then it could be criminal.
And you think right now there are no current legislation that would sufficiently give remedies to victims of fake news?
We could right now perhaps bank on the anti-cyber crime law, but it is not very specific when it comes to fake news and fake content. That is what we need to elaborate on.
Yeah, and I think you're right in terms of what is the extent of the damage or consequence, because if someone posts fake news and no one believed it, I think it would be too harsh to make it subject to criminal penalties like imprisonment or...
Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, if it's fake news na nagbibiro, and you know na nagbibiro, then, you know, the gravity becomes less.
Yeah, because the means can be it can be very tricky. Let's talk about right-sizing. This was one of your pet bills that remains to be unfinished, right? So you want to go back to Senate for this, but can you explain what right-sizing means?
Well, through the years, the bureaucracy of government has bloated. Like, to be very specific, in the 6.3 trillion budget of government right now in the General Appropriations bill that they are I think, discussing in both houses of Congress, 60% or a little more than 60%, if I'm not mistaken, is for personal services. And it is bloated, the personal services and the people in government from the time of President Marcos Sr. and President Cory Aquino up to the President Bongbong Marcos now, it has bloated. Ang nangyayari kasi, Attorney Karen, and I've seen this through the years, pag upo ng bagong presidente, hindi magtatanggal, nahihirapan yung loob niya na magsipa ng tao, tapos maglalagay ng tao niya. Magdadagdag na lang. And then, pagdating ni President Ramos, the same thing happened. President Estrada, the same thing happened. President Macapagal, the same thing happened. President Aquino, hindi naman 60% before the personal services. So, how much redound to the people in the 6.3? That's one of the that's one way of addressing the budget reforms. You know, right sizing is in tandem with budget reforms. So to be able to do that, now sabihin nila, people will be against it because you will be firing people. No, we won't. We can come up with a early retirement program. We can even legislate it. And early retirement program for people in government who are merely receiving, say, between 16 or 18,000 a month to about 20, 24,000 a month. A study was made, I had a study made on how many will opt for an early retirement program in government. You won't believe it. It's a little over 30%.
And that means they have an opportunity to find a job in the private sector or somewhere else.
Easily, or put up their own business or something because of the
separation, the retirement benefits.
Retirement benefits. Let's just say conservatively 30%. Kung 60%, let's say 60% of 6.3 trillion, o lagay mo na sa 6 trillion. 30% would be what? 2 trillion. No? 30% of 2 trillion. I'm sorry, the 60% of 60% of the 6 trillion is roughly 3.5 trillion. 30% of 3.5 trillion. That's 1 trillion.
Yes. So you've done a study on this,
yes.
and there's really a lot of savings that can be had by right-sizing.
Can you imagine what government can do with 1 trillion? Of course, babantay lang natin yung budget na baka ibulsa ng kung sino-sino. But then again, 1 trillion, how many hospitals can you do? Yeah. Can you do with that? How many schools
and
can you build with that?
What about being able to properly enforce laws that should prevent ghost employees? Because a lot of people, and this happens even in Congress, where they employ, or in local government units as well, where they employ people that really don't show up for work, or it's their own relatives or family members that are in the payroll.
Right now, there are laws in place.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, there are politicians who have court cases, or sometimes a few convicted. It's a matter of implementing it well.
Yes.
The execution of the laws, but there are laws in place against ghost employees.
So it's really the enforcement and monitoring. 14th-month pay is also something that you're advocating for.
Yes. Presidential Decree 851 was enacted in 1975, and that is the 13th-month pay. By the way, the 13th-month pay is only mandated for companies, organizations, or what have you that can afford it.
Yes.
Because if you cannot, and it's definitely reflected in your income tax return, in your income, you don't have to. But the 13-month pay, I think it has outlived itself right now. The people usually need it in the middle of the year. Enrollment ng mga anak, di ba? Usually, yung 13-month pay, nire-reserve nila for the Christmas season, bonus, parang ganyan. But a 14-month pay would be necessary even for the economy.
And you're not worried that this is a form of legislating a wage increase?
No, it's not, because it's limited to those who can afford it. We will retain that provision in Presidential Decree 851.
What about your idea to have a hybrid election law? Is this something that you're considering as well?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there were hearings already conducted, no? But I think we need to do that. It will promote transparency in the local level.
Can you explain to us what this would look like?
Pagboto, susulat mo pangalan.
So hindi
the ballot would be
hindi
not
yung shaded.
Hindi ganyan kahaba na.
Really
you need
names.
to paste all the names of the candidates. Sa likod, nandun lahat yung party list, kung ilang daan yan. Di ba?
Parang
that
manual
will no longer
voting.
be necessary. That will be back to the one sheet.
Yes. And then parang manual voting ulit.
Manual muna. And then, yung pagtatransmit ang dapat na. Doon sa transmission matagal eh. it's in the transmission that's the problem of gano'ng katagal pag nagbilang na yan. Pero sa barangay, sa presinto, pagbilang nila, that same night, pagkatapos ng bilangan, tapos na eh. You know, that's what, yung pag-transmit doon na matagal. Before, because of, wala pa yung computerization, ang nangyayari, lalagay yung mga balota pagkabilang, lalagay yung election return, lalagay sa ballot box sa presinto, dadalhin doon sa either sa barangay or sa municipality, and then in the municipality, they will bring it to the provincial capital, then from the provincial capital, they will bring it to Comelec. Yun ang matagal. But
Yes.
kung katapos ng bilangan, transmission agad, look at the barangay elections. That was not computerized. That was not automated, but it was swift. In the evening, alam na nila sino nanalo. The good thing there is that there will be transparency. Hindi katulad nung pagpinasok mo na yung ano mo. Hindi mo na alam kung nabilang. Meron.
So I think this is similar to...
Pinag-aawayan pa nga nila yung resibo eh.
Oo. Kung hindi,
Di ba?
pag hindi nag-print or baka...
Ito, maliwanag eh. And then, that's where you... But makikita mo naman, the people can see na nagbibilangan. Alam na nila yung bilang. Pag transmit doon, iba yung tinransmit, iba yung nakita rito, alam mo, there will be transparency in the local level. Unlike now, automation, pag tinransmit doon, nakita mo ba? Nakita mo ba dyan sa barangay? Kung ilan yung, o sa presinto? Kung ilan yung bilang mo?
Yeah.
Hindi
So
ba?
it is going to be interesting to hear what a hybrid setup will look like